What's going on, y'all? I'm Jeremy, the pop culture nihilist, and I appreciate you stopping by the YouTube channel for a discussion that we're having this week about Forbidden Door, which is an AEW pay-per-view event that happened over the previous weekend. We're also going to be talking about 2023's Money in the Bank. And of course, here to shepherd me through the world of wrestling is Tristan Glover, the martial arts film freak.
I like the fight movies. I also like the graps.
Did you see Indiana Jones 5?
I'm probably going to go see it today.
Okay. Are you excited about it?
Yeah, I think so. I've heard, look, and I love the original three. I grew up watching those a lot, and I was disappointed as a 12-year-old or however old I was when the fourth one came out.
Okay.
But I've got some hopes.
I enjoyed it.
Like
It's just like, go ahead.
No, I was just say when I saw the trailer, the music kicks in, you get like the young CG indie. I got emotional watching that trailer the first time it popped up.
I enjoyed the movie. It apparently was like a $400 million movie, and I think it made $70 million for its opening weekend. So it's looking grim like The Flash. I guess we'll just have to keep an eye on the rest of the summer. It's like, don't bet your entire studio on every single movie that comes out, you know?
No. And but it seems like, just from what I'm seeing online, that the excitement for both Oppenheimer and Barbie are massive.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Oppenheimer. I loved the trailer that was the teaser trailer for Barbie. I watched the like full 2.5 minute trailer this morning, and it looks a little less cool now.
I'm into it. It is a little Lego movie, but I'm
Yeah,
into it.
yeah. All right, well, there you go. There's a little bit of movie news to kick things off, but let's go ahead and transition into Forbidden Door. This is a pay-per-view match that you watched in its entire 4-hour runtime. I watched one match, which before we even get into it, maybe the greatest wrestling match I've ever seen. Before we talk specifically about Omega versus Osprey, is there any other highlights that you want to talk about in Forbidden Door?
So I've got just on my iPad here, just notes on the event, and everyone's got like two or three notes, and then you get to Shibata or Omega Osprey, and it's just a whole long
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
It was a great event. If you have the time, I would go back in and watch. There's there's intercontinental international championship match between the defending champion Orange Cassidy, defending against Garcia, Zack Sabre Jr., and Shibata. Fatal 4-way. That was wonderful. It's a lot of fun. The back and forth between Zack Sabre Jr. and Orange Cassidy are great. Zack Sabre Jr. is just like one of the most technical wrestlers in the world. Shibata is just a fucking hard man who can also be very technical. It's a great match. And then, I mean, it was a great show. What else have I got here? Brian Danielson wrestled Okada, and that's a absolute dream match, two god tier wrestlers. And Brian Danielson apparently wrestled like the final 10 minutes of the match with a broken arm.
Oh, he broke his arm in the match.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen the X-ray, but from what I've heard described, it sounds like this literally just broken.
Oh, nice.
And he just wrestled the final 10 minutes like that.
Would you say that did it live up to the expectations that you'd have of a match like that?
I'm not sure if it lived up to the full expectation, but at the same time, I had just watched Osprey Omega 2, and I don't know if anything was going to live up to that. But it was great. I don't know what I was expecting. It was very technical, and that's what I guess was expected of the two.
So I guess it's hard to like take it to the top when you've got a broken arm for 10 minutes of the match. So the fact that they went through with it in the first place is kind of a miracle.
Yeah, and I mean, so the big thing and the shock factor of it is you really don't know who's going to lose in a match like that. And Brian wins by tapping out Okada. And I don't think Okada's tapped out since like maybe 2016. So even though I wasn't like on the edge of my seat for all of the match, when Okada tapped, I like actively I gasped.
So what was the submission?
Hand over my mouth, I was like,
all right.
I'm trying to remember what the submission was. But because his normal submission is the bell lock, it's kind of a crossface, but with a broken arm, he couldn't pull that off.
Damn.
It may have been a triangle or something. I can't remember what the submission was.
All right.
But as soon as Okada tapped, I was Dub.
So we watched a Danielson match last week. I can't remember who he fought at this point, but I do remember it also being a really good match.
Yeah, I think we watched Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah. That's right. That was a good one. And I'm starting to get it when it comes to AEW. I know that for a while, and in particular before the last pay-per-view that we watched, I was a little bit like, it felt lower tier, and now I see it as being more of an adult program than WWE. Not that there's not blood and adult content in WWE, but it just seems like more grown-up sensibilities.
There was a great, and you're not wrong on that. There was a great 8-man tag between Blackpool Combat Club with, so they had a couple of Japanese dudes there with them. They had Shota Umino and Takeshita with them, and they were going against the Elite with Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii. Tomohiro Ishii is just, imagine if, and he's called the Stone Pitbull, but imagine if a bulldog was a person.
I see Kevin Owens.
Honestly, he kind of gives a similar vibe.
Okay.
But this was a crazy, great 8-man tag match. But like the big sort of the soul of it was Eddie Kingston was with the Elite, but he's like super close friends with John Moxley, who's in the Blackpool Combat Club. So they like just kept getting in each other's faces, being like, "What are you doing? Like you're freaking out." And they're standing in the middle of the ring. They're just chopping each other's chest while there's a whole bunch of stuff going on the outside. And they're both clearly just getting worn out from these chops. And at one point in the match, John Moxley is on his knees, and the Young Bucks go for a double super kick to him. And Kingston, even though he's on their team, pushes him out of the way and takes the super kick himself. And it was just it's a good emotional moment.
All right. Yeah. See, I don't have the storylines. I don't have the characters for reference when I'm watching these matches. And that I think is another big reason why I haven't been able to like really key into the rhythm of AEW yet. But I gotta say, man, it really did not matter in this match. I mean, I'm sure there would have been so much more to appreciate against Omega versus Ospreay had I like known the history of it and all that kind of stuff. But these two dudes are just fucking phenomenal wrestlers. And this match had everything that I like about the sport all in one match. And even some of the things that historically I've been like, I don't really give a shit about that. They executed it really well. I mean, do this like flips and rope work. There's all sorts of countering going on, which I really do enjoy watching people kind of maneuver out of the moves. There's a couple high flying moves like off the top turnbuckle. There's some really good chops in this match. That's the thing that I've said in the past that I don't really care about that much, but they did it really well. There were some chops to like the freaking throat area that I thought looked really badass. They pulled out weapons. There's a screwdriver in this match. There's what do they call it, Tristan? A crimson mask when the fucking wrestlers' faces are just covered with blood.
At one point, Kenny Omega is just covered in Ospreay's blood.
Yeah, dude, it was great. And then one of the things that I learned this weekend is that the UK is the best fucking wrestling audience in the world that I've seen so far.
So this show was in Canada, but Money in the Bank was in the UK.
Oh, Canada's got some good chants.
Canada is very passionate.
Yeah, man. I guess it makes sense now with the Canadian flag. Is Omega Canadian, and then
Omega is Canadian, so he was the hometown boy.
And then Ospreay is
British.
That's where I
Which
got
they
a little
will be in the UK.
Up.
They will be in the UK for All In, and I think August. I think maybe.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
They're going to be in the UK.
So
they're going to be in Wembley, and they've already apparently sold just a shit ton of tickets.
That's a huge venue.
Yeah,
man. Well, that's cool that the UK is getting a little bit of because the wrestling shit that I watch is from a bunch of Brits, and to see like just to see how enthusiastic that audience was at Money in the Bank. But yeah, equally enthusiastic in Canada. There's some really crazy fucking spots in this match involving the Canadian flag.
Yeah, he stole a Canadian flag from a guy, which, might have been a plant, but it's fine.
It was a plant, sure.
Yeah. And he just starts, flossing his butt cheeks.
Dude, that was wild. And picking his nose with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
Rubbing his
like
blood on it.
that would never happen in a WWE match, right?
I can't remember what country they were in. There's a story from a long time ago of JBL took some country's flag. I want to say it was JBL. I may be mixing up JBL doing a Sieg Heil in Germany and got in a lot of trouble for that.
Wow, I imagine so for some reason.
But it was something like that where somebody did take someone's flag and like put it on the ground and was stepping on it, and he got in a lot of trouble for it.
Yeah, I could see how that, I mean, and again, that kind of ties it into being like, oh, okay, this is a much more adult oriented show where they're not going to get like fines or penalties for doing it because, like you said, I think it was a plant. There was another fucking sweet spot where Osprey like smacked the dude's fucking hat off of his head.
Yeah,
it was fun,
just
man.
being a dick.
Yeah. So a lot of good stuff in it. Choking each other with the American flag. I've got a couple of notes about specific moves and stuff that happened. What was your kind of overall view of this fight? And can you hook me up on some of the rivalry between these two?
So a lot of the rivalry has been in Japan, so I'm not mega familiar with it just because I don't get to watch a lot of Japanese stuff.
Okay.
But essentially, I mean, one of the big parts of it is just that Will Ospreay, he was just like Kenny, I guess. He was what Japan has, they call him super juniors, which is light, which is like a light heavyweight, smaller guys.
Okay.
He beefed up to go to heavyweight, won the championship, was was on the top for a while. But he's tried to take sort of that gaijin foreigner spot from Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega was like the top foreigner in Japan for a while, and he's like, no, that's my position now. And just Kenny Omega, just like back in January at Wrestle Kingdom, which is their WrestleMania, Kenny Omega just put him in his place. Like they had a great, amazing match. But essentially the story of it was Kenny had an answer for everything Will Ospreay threw at him. And anything Kenny did, Will Ospreay had nothing. So it was just like whole match of Kenny reversing his stuff and beating the shit out of him. And so this was sort of the comeback for Will, even though he's the villain of the story, the comeback for him being like, no, I have answers this time. It's imagine Rocky 3, but instead, Rocky destroys the bad guy in the middle, and then the bad guy comes in at the end and kicks Rocky's ass.
Yeah, okay. And I could see the evolution of that storyline because of the way they kept countering each other. So this idea that Omega had a move for everything, and now Ospreay's like studied his style or come up with a strategy so that he could do all of the same kind of counters that Omega was doing. I know the name Kenny Omega going into this match. I figure he's got to be one of the like premier guys from AEW. Like as far as tier list, he's one of the superstars. Where would you rank him as far as that goes?
He is recognized as potentially the greatest, like top 3 wrestlers in the world right now.
Oh yeah. Dude, I could feel that. Like this shit was so good. There were it was amazing to see. I've got a couple, like I said, a couple of notes. One of the things that was just like something that I've never seen that's not related to the moves, but to the cinematography or the camera work. I don't think I've ever seen an overhead shot in WWE before.
They used to do it in the 90s. Like if you go back to a lot of those like TLC matches between Edge, Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardys, they used to do those shots a lot. And I like those a lot. And I like those so much. And this is something I guess we'll pick on later on. But I like those shots because they focus on one single shot for a whole move. Whereas these days in WWE, it's a lot of cutting. Like somebody will do a move, cut to something else, there's the landing. I'm like, just show me the fucking move.
Yeah, but you get that it obscures a bunch of the contact that's not being made. But yeah, I really like that overhead shit. I thought like what you said, it adds a clarity to it that you don't get in a lot of the other things, which tend to obscure the moves themselves. But I thought that was cool. There was a couple times throughout the match that I was just fucking blown away by the amount of sheer punishment that both of these dudes took.
I've got a couple notes on that. Yeah.
Hit me with one.
Well, so one is Will Ospreay just slamming Kenny Omega's head on the table. And I know he was hitting like the plastic cover that's probably thinner. But you're so used to in wrestling seeing wrestlers put the hands up and hit their hands.
Nope, not this time.
Kenny never put his fucking hands up.
No, it was wild.
You just hear a full thud of his head going boom, boom. And I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, oh my God, did he forget wrestling's fake?
Yeah, dude. That was definitely one. And then another just lumps that Kenny took is when he got hit into the fucking stairs, the steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think he countered that also with he gave Will Ospreay a good pile driver on the standing stairs as well.
Yeah, he stands the steps up on the side, gets up on top of it with Ospreay, standing fucking pile driver right on top of it. Is that what split Ospreay, or was he already bleeding at that point?
He may have already been bleeding, but I think that's what did it there.
Oh man, wild. And then there were just like I don't know what their special moves are, but I imagine Kenny Omega's like taunt thing is when he's like smacking the fucking mat, and people kind of like
to the theme of the Terminator.
Oh, really?
Did you hear it? Goes,
I didn't. I didn't
bump,
pick up on it. That's fucking badass. Yeah. So what's his finisher?
His finisher. He's a big nerd. He's a big gaming nerd. He loves Final Fantasy. He loves Street Fighter. His finisher is called the One-Winged Angel, which is the nickname of Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
And it's where he gets somebody on his shoulders facing forward and then grabs their head and drives down, sits out, and pulls their head down.
Yeah.
And they land kind of on their shoulders, back of the neck.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing that happened with that one, this match, and so that's a very protected finisher. Very few people kick out of it. I think maybe Okada kicked out of it one time. It doesn't happen often. So when it does happen,
wait, hold up. Protected finisher.
Protected just means like people rarely ever kick out.
Okay.
If you get hit with it, match is over.
All right.
So, I don't think Kenny Omega hit it this match. He may have. I may have forgotten, but Will Ospreay hits Kenny with his own finisher. Now, there's something you don't do to Kenny Omega. It's hit him with his own finisher. Because he don't care how much something hurts. He's being disrespected. And he's going to fucking kick out at 1.
Yeah, dude. That was like
when he
the
did it
best
this match,
fucking moment of the match.
That I stood up out of my fucking seat. I stood up and was like freaking out. And that's sort of a callback. He had a tag match forever ago. He was tagged with Hangman. He had a tag match against the Bucks, so Elite versus Elite. And he used to be in a tag team in Japan with a guy named Kota Ibushi. They were called the Golden Lovers. And they would hit sort of like a double knee. They would have their opponent on their knees. They would both grab a hand and they would just drive their knee into their face. And so the Young Bucks did that to Kenny in reference to his tag, that you're using his finisher.
Yeah.
And that's another moment where he kicked out at 1 and was like, not happening.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a reference to that here. But when he kicked out, I stood up out of my chair. I freaked out. It was incredible.
It was incredible. And just in case you're listening to this and you didn't see the match, right? Like if somebody kicks out after 1 early on in the match, maybe this is the first time he did a finish, or maybe this is the first time Omega went down. That would be one thing. I mean, it typically kind of ratchets up from the beginning. Like you're going to kick out after 1, then maybe you're going to kick out after 2, and then maybe you're going to kick out after like 2 2/3, but right before the fucking ref's hand hits the mat for that 3 count. And that has already happened multiple times where like he's up to about to go down after 3. And then after he gets hit with this finisher, like probably 15, 20 minutes into the match and comes up after 1. It was just like a really cathartic, victorious moment where you're just like, oh shit, he's mad. And I really liked though that like the tides turned at many points in the match where like I didn't think there was gonna be a clear winner. Without knowing anything about this match, I kind of at some point figured Kenny Omega was going to win. So I thought that was actually kind of a nice swerve that it didn't end up playing out that way.
Yes. And I too, I had no idea. I thought maybe Kenny was going to win. I had a high instinct that Kenny was going to win, and I'm happy to be wrong there. There was also the thing that people are still talking about 2 weeks after this match is Will Ospreay did a Tiger Driver 97, I think, and just dropped Kenny on his head, which I'm sure was a totally planned spot, but holy shit.
Can you explain that one to me?
So, I trying to like think of how to describe the move. Like Triple H's pedigree?
Yeah.
It's almost like that, but the head never gets tucked between his legs. He just kind of picks him up from there and drops.
Yeah.
And he just drops Kenny like right on the crown of his head back here.
How were they doing after the match, dude? Because I feel like they left a lot in the ring for this one.
From what I've heard, they're good. I haven't heard any news. I haven't heard like anyone's damaged or anything.
God damn. It was one of the most physical, like you said about Omega just taking those hits repeatedly on the little sign that goes across the table. Like it seemed like they were so intent on selling this match as being like the fucking blood feud that it was. And granted, I don't have a huge reference for the rest of AEW, but like you said, there's a lot of ways that you expect to see wrestlers take hits, and it seemed like they were more interested in just making it look fucking brutal this time.
There was a brutal looking one of Ospreay's. I guess sometimes it's a finisher, sometimes it's a bit more of a signature move. He hits what he calls an Oz cutter, which like Randy Orton's RKO.
Yeah.
Imagine he did it in this match, but like he bounces off the rope to sort of an RKO kind of move. That's his Oz cutter.
Yes.
And he goes for that move, and instead of taking it, Kenny counters him by just kneeing him in the head.
Yes.
Like he's in midair and just boom, drop.
Yeah, man. Yeah. The V trigger. What is the V trigger?
Yeah, the V trigger is
a running
essentially
knee?
just a devastating ass running knee to the head.
Yeah, straight into the fucking barricade.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, dude, it was just one crazy spot after another. And talking about this match, and then we're gonna switch into Money in the Bank and have a conversation about that. But just like where in a regular match you might get 2, 3, 5 just incredible spots, I felt like this was just one after another. You could have written highlight reel for everything that happened, and it been the majority of the match. It didn't feel like there was too much wasted time within this fight.
You brought up the crowd earlier. One thing I liked with this crowd, and one of my favorite chants, it doesn't happen super often, is "You sick fuck."
Yeah.
They did it one time earlier in the night. Orange Cassidy in his fatal 4-way. Orange Cassidy has an injured hand, which they worked that brilliantly into the match. I really think you should go back and watch that. One of his finishers is just a big Superman punch, like Roman Reigns. But he has his injured hand, so he throws the Superman punch, and then he can't go to the pin because he immediately just drops to his knees and is clutching his hand. But I think it was Zack Sabre Jr. grabs the hand and just starts like twisting his fingers around, and the crowd at that point starts chanting "You sick fuck." But the other one was during this match, I believe it was Will Ospreay applied Chris Benoit's finishing submission, and they're in Canada. Chris Benoit being a Canadian boy, and Chris Benoit, the things he did.
Yeah.
So he applies Chris Benoit's finisher in Canada, and the crowd starts chanting "You sick fuck."
Oh, see,
and I thought that was amazing.
I miss so much of this shit. That is wild. And Ospreay is also like one of his time is just like flicking off the audience. Another thing I don't think you would see in WWE.
I think he's just being a dick. I think he just didn't give a shit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so
he also like rubbing his blood on the flag. He then gave that flag to a kid. He's just like, here, bloody flag.
Yeah. So obviously he's like ultimate heel.
He's a dick.
Yeah. He was badass. I like his I guess kayfabe from the little bit that I saw, because like he was fucking belligerent, dude. I don't know.
He keeps it up a little bit outside of the ring. I've seen some interviews where he's pretty nice. Actually, they did the post event press conference. He sort of dropped kayfabe and was pretty nice there. There is a fun video, I think, on his girlfriend's Instagram. They were at like Niagara Falls or something, which I guess makes sense because they're by Canada. And I guess, you can like take a boat and go kind of closer to the water or whatever. she's like dragging him. She's dragging him like, we're gonna go to the boat, we're gonna get closer. He's like, I don't want, like, he just looks pissed. He's like looks annoyed. He's like, I don't want to get closer. And then it just cuts to him wearing like the tarp, just sitting under the water, just like.
All right. I've
He's a
never seen
fun
one of
guy.
the press conferences for AEW. I find
You
the
have
press
some wrestlers
conferences.
who, yeah, you have some wrestlers who like stick to the story, stay in character. Tony Storm did a good job of that, just being like, I don't want to fucking be here. MJF is one of the best press conferences you can see because he is in character 24/7.
Yeah.
And then you have sometimes like Orange Cassidy or uh, Osprey in this one, or Brian Danielson in this one, who will break character and just be themselves.
So what when you're watching a press conference after a match, do you like the authenticity of the athlete or do you like the kayfabe of the character?
I like a good balance. I don't think. I mean, typically a heel will maybe break character, or a face will break character because, like, you can't really have fun at a press conference as a face. But
Yeah,
the heels mostly stay in character because, like, you're just gonna treat everyone like shit and be a dick.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I dig that. I
Like
dig that.
somebody asked, there's a woman in Japan named Julia who right now is on fire. She's fucking red hot. Everyone on the wrestling internet loves Julia, and she called out Tony Storm. And so one of the interviewers said, Tony, do you want to wrestle Julia? And she's just like, no, I don't know. I don't want, like, I don't care. Like, what do you want me to say? Oh, it's a dream match. No, fuck that. Fuck Julia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've never seen Julia before. I'm looking at some pictures of her before. I don't think I've ever seen a women's match. I've seen some women interference in some of those pay-per-views we watch, but I'd like to check that out. Do you feel like they are handled better in AEW than WWE?
Not really. That's one of AEW's kind of faults, is they have an extremely talented women's division, and every now and again the women will maybe steal a show or something, but they could do a bit more with their women's matches.
What is a Snapdragon? Back to the Osprey versus Omega
Snapdragon, yes,
match.
that's my first note here is Will Ospreay just escaped a Snapdragon with a backflip. It's when, like, you get somebody in like a full Nelson, like, arms under the armpits, head, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just suplex them.
Oh, yeah. There was a really fucking good one in the match that I took a note of. I couldn't remember exactly what it was. Um, Super badass.
Yeah,
And
that's a
then
Kenny signature.
Sky Twister. What's that?
I don't know about a Sky Twister. I think of his Osprey's finisher is a Stormbreaker, which
Okay.
is I don't even know how to fucking describe this move. He like gets his opponent like on his shoulder and like twists them, and he twists in the air. So I don't. It baffles me how he does it. I
I'll
don't
have
know.
to play a little bit more of that AEW game, which I did play over the weekend. And I gotta
I
say,
haven't even
man,
touched it yet.
it's probably because I won that I'm like, this game's way fucking better than 2K3 because I was playing my buddies at 2K3 and they were just countering everything, just kicking the shit out of me. And they were like, AEW's more of like an arcade, like a button masher
Mm.
game. And it worked out for me, man. I beat both of them, just one after the other. So I am claiming right now that AEW, what's the name of the game?
Fight Forever.
Fight Forever, fucking far superior game. Come at me, bro.
I think my brother said he's gonna get it from my birthday because I haven't played it yet. But I saw one person on Twitter, because it's made by the same people who made like No Way Out back on like the N64 and like the PS1 and stuff.
Ah,
And like, if you ever go back and play those earlier games, like the controls are a little rough around the edges. Like not everything is so exact and precise as it is now. And uh so like, I think people learned that last year with GoldenEye. But somebody tweeted, these controls on Fight Forever are trash. No matter what you do, you can't counter out of any finisher. And then somebody just replied, yeah, that's how it was back in the day. Welcome to our world, or whatever.
yeah.
And then they're just like, this is amazing.
So you're talking about No Mercy or No Way Out?
No Mercy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, those are the ones that I played back in the day. If that's probably why I did good. Come to think of it, because that shit is ingrained into my brain, like Street Fighter 2. I'll never forget those moves. But Yeah, I don't know. It was fun. I thought the graphics were good too. I didn't notice it to be like cartoony looking or any of that stuff that had been kind of talked about beforehand. But anything else on the is there another match coming up between the two of them?
Not that I'm aware of. They, if anything, they'll have maybe a third match, a third rubber match. Trying to think of what like the next big Japan show is. I think they have a show called like Dominion in like a handful of months. I probably won't watch it because I rarely ever get the Japanese pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Because you gotta either if you watch it on time, you're staying up super late, or you just ignore the internet and watch it like the next day.
Yeah.
I did it one time for Wrestle Kingdom 12, maybe. The first Wrestle Kingdom that had Chris Jericho, because it was going to be Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega, and I was like, I have to watch that. That was like Chris Jericho had just left WWE. Chris Jericho had not done anything outside of WWE since 1999. Now he's going to go to Japan. What the fuck's going to happen? And I remember staying up to like 1 a.m. to watch that, and I was exhausted.
Energy.
I think they have a show called like Dominion or something. Yeah.
Well, we got
they
a
may have
minute
a rematch
left,
there.
dude.
They haven't said anything.
Sting came back and wrestled Jericho. Is that right?
Yeah, Sting had a tag match with Orange Cassidy. Or not Orange Cassidy, sorry, with Darby Allin. Yeah, I think a little bit of notes on that one. Sting also on the Dynamite after. Don't know why he did it. He's so old. They set up two tables on the outside of the ring.
Hold up. He's like 65 years old. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They set up two tables on the outside of the ring, in my opinion, a little far from the ring, and set up a ladder inside the ring.
Okay.
So there's the extra height of outside, inside. And Darby Allin starts to climb. Darby Allin's a big daredevil. Darby Allin's great. You'd love him. He starts to climb the ladder, and Sting starts to climb the other side. And Darby's like, "Oh, are you doing this?" And Sting's like, "I got it." And Darby's like, "Okay." He takes the dive, jumps from the ladder to the table. And again, I think they put the tables a little too far. He barely made it.
Ooh.
It looked good. It worked.
Yeah.
It worked. But I'm like, what are you doing? You're 65 years old.
Did they hold the ladder for him?
Yeah, Sting kind of got down, or Darby kind of got down and was holding it, and there was like a ref holding it a little bit in place.
Oh man, I gotta watch that. He had the old school makeup on.
No, I mean, his crow makeup. He hasn't taken off the crow makeup ever. He's been wearing that since the 90s, since the late 90s. He changed it up a little bit in like the late 2000s and did like a Joker thing, but pretty much always been Sting. Always been the crow Sting.
Wasn't he like bleached blonde before that version of Sting?
Yeah, he was like a surfer guy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, that's cool, man. I definitely being a child of the 90s and liking WCW back in the day. Sting was always one of my favorite wrestlers. It's kind of reminds me of Indiana Jones in that way, that like eventually you just kind of want to remember them as the hero they were instead of as the elderly man that they are now. But I am not trying to take food off of anybody's table. So it's great that we're like at a stage in society where we want to wheel these fucking mummies out and like try to pretend like they're in their former glory. So God bless Harrison Ford, the 87-year-old man playing Indiana Jones.
And Sting, who should not be jumping off of ladders that high to tables that far away.
Those table shits are dangerous,
the only real,
dude.
Say what?
The table stunts are dangerous.
And he looked like he almost knocked his head on, like, because he set up two tables. He only hit the first one. It looked like he almost hit his head on the second one.
Reminds me of a Logan Paul and Ricochet spot that we'll talk about in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got?
The only notes really I have from that match, what?
What do you got? You were doing it.
Oh, okay. That Darby Sting, they had a guy named Naito on their team, and Jericho Guevara had Suzuki, who we watched wrestle Danielson. And at one point, Jericho is reaching out to Suzuki, and Jericho yells, "Tag me!" And Suzuki just looks at him. I thought it was so funny. Suzuki just looks at him. Think of like, the hard, rough-looking old Suzuki. He just looks over at Jericho and just goes, "No." Just gets back to wrestling.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. All those guys are getting long in the chicken either at this point.
Yeah, no, Suzuki's, I don't know how old Suzuki is, but he's old.
He looked fucking great in the ring. I haven't seen Jericho do it in a while, but there's something that just seems Seems kind of silly about Jericho these days.
It's he's going for a what's his name? Who's the lead singer of Axl Rose? He's doing a bit of an Axl Rose thing.
All right. Gotta respect it. Gotta respect it. All right. Well, we'll be right back to talk a little bit about Money in the Bank. Y'all stick around. Jeremy here, aka the Pop Culture Nihilist, and I'm excited to talk to you about MoviePalette.com. So what they do at MoviePalette is they look at a movie shot by shot, and from each frame they extract the dominant color. Each is represented by a stripe that's laid out in chronological order to create a unique abstract work of art that, as they say, hides a secret. Then the art's printed onto a high quality canvas in the size of your choosing, with the hardware already attached for convenient hanging. For my first piece, I chose Godzilla King of the Monsters. What I liked about this one is that you can virtually see the movie in it. In Doherty's film, each kaiju is represented by a different color, and the scenes featuring them are pretty easy to spot because of this. Plus, aesthetically, it adds bold color to my dining room, and I think it really brings the space to life. So if you're looking for a gift for the cinephile in your life, they're gonna love Movie Palette, and you will too. On the site, there's hundreds of films to choose from, everything from blockbusters to indies, and if they don't have what you're looking for, you can request a custom piece of your choosing. They even have art of your favorite TV shows. For real, how cool is that? So as you can tell, I really dig Movie Palette's work, and if you want to bring home your very own and get a 15% discount on your purchase, just visit MoviePalette.com and use the promo code BeTerrible at checkout. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about 2023's Money in the Bank. So when we first started doing this, you had suggested that I watch the custody battle between Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. So this was one of the first, like, I mean, I guess I've seen like Hell in a Cell cage matches and stuff, but one of the first like pay-per-view gimmicks that I'd seen before. So I was like kind of familiar with the format. And then you and I watched was it Seth Rollins and Finn? No, that was SummerSlam. It was
We watched the first Money in the Bank at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah. Okay, so like I'm familiar with this format. I don't know why, but I was under the impression that like each of these PLE events was strictly those matches. So like if it was a Money in the Bank match, every single fight on the card would be a Money in the Bank. Thank God it's not that way. They actually mix it up, and this was a good PLE. I've been watching every PLE since the Royal Rumble, which was like probably 5-6 months ago, give or take a little bit. I have no concept of time, and I always really enjoy them. I don't really watch the weekly shows except for highlights, maybe matches here and there. I don't think this was one of my favorite PLEs, but it had some pretty historical moments in it. What were your overall thoughts of this?
First of all, I just need to acknowledge that it is so few people actually recognize them as PLEs, because for years it was just pay-per-views or whatever. And then WWE only in the last like year has adjusted to saying, no, they're PLEs, which honestly I can't even remember what it stands for anymore. But seeing as you come in like as a newer fan just in January and you're like, it's a PLE, and I'm like, oh yeah, I just call them pay-per-views.
Well, thank you. Premium live event.
Premium live event, yes.
Yeah.
Which, so when they first started calling them that, everybody was like, sounds like a porno.
PLE.
Something about calling it a pre. I guess we're in that OnlyFans culture. Everybody was like premium live event. That sounds like an OnlyFans thing.
It's like a Tijuana donkey show.
Yeah, that's premium live event. But to what I thought of the show, I thought it was an all right show. The ladder matches were good. The main event was great. Everything else was a little bit forgettable for me.
Highlight match.
I mean, just for the emotional stakes, I guess the Usos versus the Bloodline.
That was a fucking boring match, but the character stuff was really good. I liked the men's ladder match at the beginning. I thought there was some really cool spots in that. It was fun to me and dynamic, and I liked it.
I enjoyed it. I didn't feel like it had a very good flow. I mean, and you could say that because it's a spot fest, it doesn't really need that. It's just Crash TV. But you can still have some flow to a good ladder match. It just kind of felt like, okay, we're gonna go over here and do something. We're gonna go over here and do something. We're gonna go over here and do something. Kind of felt like, you can make things tie in together a little bit more.
Uh, how? Like, what? Okay, what is a good flow? It just feels like
Like
everything.
it's just like a fight naturally. Think of, it's so weird. I'm gonna go to this fight. Think of this is so fucking stupid. Go to the Chicken versus Peter Griffin in Family Guy.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, yeah,
You know how like the fight, like they never stop fighting. It's just, and it goes through so many different locations.
yeah. Hmm.
It's like that. You can have a match sort of naturally go over here, naturally go over here, naturally go over here. Sometimes it would feel like people would just be like, I'm gonna go over here now, and they would just go over there and do something.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about now, and I feel that when you have a bunch of people in the ring, it's almost symptomatic of like this person's got to be over here recovering, this person's got to be over here dazed, so that everybody can focus the attention on these two guys who are doing a spot
Mhm.
at that particular moment. I guess maybe sometimes it works out better than others, but I do get what you're saying, thanks in large part to the Family Guy reference, which I think is like deeply entrenched into society's psyche at this point. So I
As
get
it should be, even
I
though Family
get
Guy's not very funny anymore.
Ricochet diving through the ladder out of the ring, dude. What?
And so that was a great moment. It's happened before, but I love it anytime it happens. But that was another moment where I'm like, you stupid fucking camera people, and whoever's in the truck, which I know who's in the fucking truck, telling like this camera, this camera, this camera, like they missed that. They missed it.
So they should have
They
shot it from the
they
profile.
well, they sort of caught it from the side a little bit, and then they kind of immediately cut away. But just it was literally right in front of the hard cam. Just go to the fucking hard cam.
Yeah.
And you'll see it coming straight at you, coming through the fucking through the ladder. And
Okay.
they pretty much missed the entire thing.
That was a great moment. And then Logan Paul frog splashing onto Damian Priest on the ladder. That was a
Mhm.
brutal spot.
That was a good one. And the way, like, yeah, the way, first of all, no ladders broke. No ladders gave way at all.
At
Nothing cushioned
all.
anybody's fall. But
Uh-uh.
the way Logan like bounced off, like you can tell that was a hard impact just from how he just hit and immediately bounced off.
It looked like it crunched both their fucking rib cages, dude. Like those were the only thing to absorb the shock was their ribs. And yeah, and that one definitely felt like I felt that one. And then I mean the thing that we're all talking about after the match, of course, was the Ricochet and Logan Paul botched fucking table spot where there's two
Mhm.
tables set up next to each other. I don't even remember what the setup move was, but both of them come flying
They
out.
were, yeah, they were on top of they were not on, they're on top of, that's sort of one of my notes here too. They were on a ladder, somebody pushed it over, and they were supposed to sort of land on the ropes, and then Ricochet was supposed to go to the other side and do a Spanish fly, which is where you grab somebody belly to belly and you just do a backflip and you land on them.
Yeah, okay.
So they were supposed to land on the rope, transition that into a Spanish fly, and go through the tables.
How do you
But
know? Just
according to,
curious.
oh, just that, because that was, you know, that will just how it looked. That was probably what was supposed to happen.
Okay.
But Logan, I heard an interview with Logan Paul, I guess on his podcast, I guess, where he said they were supposed to kind of land simultaneously, but Ricochet landed before him, and when he landed before him, it kind of pushed the rope out of his way, like where it pushed it out of his line of feet, and he had to miss it and get back on the ropes. And then Logan, you could tell, like, and he's new, he's not experienced, he's green, had like no balance on those ropes. He was struggling. Ricochet gets in position and is like, we can't wait for you to get your balance. It has to happen now. So he just grabs him and is like, go. And you can kind of even see that he's kind of trying to protect him, because normally you would land on the person, but he clearly kind of rolls off in midair because he's like, I'm gonna crush your head.
Yeah. So, and I don't know that he saved them all that much because they went like between the tables instead of straight through
I think he
both the
saved him more than he could
tables.
have.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know how much of this was set up, but it looked like there were multiple medical professionals on the scene checking on Logan because his head just fucking smashed right through those tables and then into the ground. And he laid out there for a while. And I know like a lot of the wrestlers do, but it looked like referees and some other people kind of came and were like making sure he didn't break his
they were
fucking
definitely
neck.
checking on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely, I mean, they can tell, they can see it just as much as the fans can whenever something maybe impacts a little too hard or something. Like they'll be there. They'll be like, that looked brutal. You good?
Do you think that the celebrity wrestlers get more TLC than the wrestlers?
No, I don't think so. I think, I mean, I do know, sure, like they can tell when somebody, is more experienced, it can take something. But also, like in WWE, especially, are all over people.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't.
They're
matter.
checking on people, and they have like little signs. They have little secret things they do to sort of let people know they're okay. If you ever see a wrestler take like a really big bump, and the referee is like right there to check on them, or the other wrestler is like sitting right next to him, you'll see them kind of like grab something. Like the person will take the bump, they'll take the fall, and then they'll kind of like grab the ref's leg or grab their opponent's leg, and they'll give it a squeeze. And that squeeze is just to say, I'm good.
Okay. And then if you don't get the squeeze, that means they're fucked up.
Yeah. There was one that was very funny. I think it was Asuka Becky Lynch or something like that. Becky Lynch hit Asuka with something big, and that was going to be the end of the match, 1, 2, 3 pin. But Becky, I think, gets on top of Asuka for the pin, and Asuka goes to do her squeeze, and just so happens that the first thing she gets contact with is just all boob. So you just kind of see it. You see her laying there, and you just see her go
honk.
And just yeah.
All right. That's cool. I'll be keeping an eye out for that now. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it's a stupid little fun thing.
And then we got the women's tag team championship, which was Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Ronda and Shayna. I think there are two big takeaways from this match. One being, and this is from my perspective, Tristan, what is the number one takeaway from this match?
That Shayna turned on Ronda? What?
That would be the number two thing in the match. That would be the number two thing in the match that wrestling fans care about. No, dude.
Is number one that no one gave a shit?
No, number one is that Liv Morgan came out there in that fucking Union flag outfit and just looked amazing.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking how I couldn't give a shit about the match.
No, this is a Liv Morgan appreciation segment here. She is.
Go ahead and appreciate you, Liv Morgan.
She is amazing. She is probably like the main reason I watch wrestling. And maybe Alexa Bliss also. Hey, look, I'm lowest common denominator here. At least I'll own it. Liv Morgan pandering to the UK crowd and doing it ever so wonderfully, looking like Ginger Spice from the Spice Girls. Yeah, and then the other thing, yeah, absolutely. They won the match because Shayna turns on Ronda. Two people that I don't really like.
Right.
Go.
Yeah, that like so the crowd, I don't think even the crowd really gave much of a shit about this, but I was like halfway zoned out in this match. I'm like, I have no investment in this whatsoever. And then when Shayna turned on Ronda, that was like the one thing that got me in where I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, something happened.
That, I was like, I don't give a shit about any of this.
Yeah. I think they just have an obligation to casuals to put Liv in every single PLE because she's great to look at. And she's also really fucking good. I think
she's a great wrestler. I love her finisher.
Yeah, dude. I think you can conflate one thing or the other. I feel like she's kind of like New School Divas era. Her whole like "watch me" written on her ass on like one of her costumes. Like, I mean, she plays into the sex appeal in a way that most other female wrestlers don't.
I think she wants to do more like hardcore wrestling shit. Like she wants to be like the Mick Foley of the women.
Yeah, which is wild because she does not have that look, and she's little. But yeah, that Royal Rumble that I saw her in when she was like first two people in, like second to last one out, I was like, oh no, she is every bit of like a skilled wrestler as any of these people are. But yeah, I like her. There was a good hot tag where Raquel came in and kind of like fucked up Shayna and Ronda for a minute, but It was fine. It was a fine match, but yeah, that Shayna thing.
I'm very happy to see Shayna turn on Ronda. Shayna has been one of the most mishandled women wrestlers in general on the WWE roster. She is a monster. She is great. She's an absolute bully. She should be in the ring bullying the women every single night, whooping their asses. She should be the main villain of the women's division. And they've treated her like a fucking joke. So I'm happy to see her do this. I hope she destroys Ronda. I hope she fucking becomes one of the top women in the whole division.
Why did this happen?
Why did she turn on Ronda?
Yeah.
Well, she cut a great promo on Raw. I'd recommend checking out this highlight. She obliterated her. She, just as much as she beat her down on Money in the Bank, she whooped her ass with a microphone. She just goes into this whole thing of like you were top dog over there at that other thing, you know, UFC and shit. But you weren't the one working your ass off on the independents and wrestling. You weren't the one putting together rings and wrestling in front of 30 people or 15 people. I was the one who did all that stuff. I was the one who, you know, owned NXT, was the destroyer of NXT, and then got my call up to be on the main roster. You just got to walk into WrestleMania and immediately have a match. And
okay,
she's fucking right.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those situations where it's like the bad guy is spitting truth.
Didn't Ronda get into WWE because of Shayna?
Ronda got in because she's Ronda, but
I'm sorry,
you know,
I phrased that wrong.
Sort of...
Did Ronda get enthusiastic about wrestling because of Shayna?
Maybe a little bit, but also I think she maybe was already some bit of a fan, because she was quite familiar with like Roddy Piper, and like Roddy Piper gave Ronda the nickname Ronda Rousey.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that was her nickname. I maybe I'm sleeping on these two. I don't know, man. I don't like their.
I mean, like the most I can say, because I don't want to give you like a shit ton of matches to watch. Just like look up some like Shayna Baszler NXT highlights, because she was the women's champion there for a long time, and she was just a bully. That's the best way to describe it, is she was a bully. She was this real hard fighter chick, because she was in the UFC for herself for a little bit. And she just came into NXT and would just bully people. People would like every now and again have some sort of answer to her. Like she would get somebody in a chokehold and they would kind of roll behind her and like pin her that way. And then like when they did, she would get up and just beat the shit out of them. Like she would not let anybody have any breathing room in NXT. And it was great. And it also made it to where when somebody did beat her and put her in her place, like Rhea Ripley did, Rhea Ripley's the one who beat her in the end, and Shayna goes up to like Monday Night Raw. But she was so brutal and so on top for such a long time that when Rhea Ripley does eventually beat her and take the championship,
like a real accomplishment.
Yeah. And then she goes up to Monday Night Raw and she's a fucking joke.
So Shayna goes heel, Ronda goes babyface before Ronda's contract ends and she walks away from WWE. Is that what's happening?
Probably.
What the fuck was Shayna's costume?
I don't even remember what she was wearing. I know Ronda was definitely wearing some Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that I picked up on. At first, I was like, "What does she have an M drawn on her forehead? What does the M stand for?" And then I saw that it was yeah. So I got the Dragon Ball reference. I was trying to put together. It seems like cosplaying is pretty popular in the women's division in WWE.
I think it's popular in all wrestling right now because the wrestlers are nerds.
I haven't seen guys do it. I don't think.
Ricochet, my favorite Ricochet one was Ricochet just straight up wore a Nightwing outfit.
Oh, really?
It was like a neck down. Oh, what's happening?
What did happen? Did I freeze?
I think I'm getting a phone call and it like shut it off on my thing. Hold on. Hello?
Oh my God, he's answering the phone on the Zoom call. What a piece of shit. I don't know if he can hear me right now. Hopefully whoever he's talking to on the phone can't hear me right now. I'm leaving this all in. Tristan Glover, what a scumbag. I'm glad that this happened though, because this podcast needed a little bit more comedic effect. I feel like this is kind of adding to it. Tristan Glover. talking to his mother. She said he's grounded for not washing the dishes when he was 16 years old. And
You
now
see
he's,
her?
yeah.
Oh, hold on. Let me repair my earbud.
Got some good commentary for this one. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, glad that we had that little intermission here.
Yeah. My fucking MacBook and being all paired to my Apple ID and shit. I got a phone call and it popped up on my computer.
Did you tell your mom I said hey?
That was the lady who was supposed to cut my hair.
All right. Well, so Ricochet did a cosplay of Nightwing from the neck down. He didn't have the mask on.
Yeah, like no mask on, just like full body Nightwing, and
That's
it was dope.
cool.
But Johnny Gargano does he doesn't do cosplay, but Johnny Gargano definitely does like superhero themed outfits, which sometimes the superhero will like contend with like where his character is at. So like he was kind of going a bit of a tweener, and is like he had very Punisher inspired gear or Venom inspired gear. You know, wrestlers do stuff like I mean, hell, fucking Cody Rhodes. Ever since The Boys became a thing, Cody's been doing Homelander for years.
I didn't put that together until you said it, and now it's all I can see. And then Balor's demon for a long time was like the Venom body paint. So I guess I have seen it a little more than I could think of.
Yeah, even Seth would do some stuff. Seth would for like his pants and stuff would do some colors. So I remember for a while Seth did like a Thanos kind of color scheme, or like maybe one of his boots would be like gold or something. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like he's got a bit of a Joker sensibility to him, and I don't know that I've always thought that. I feel like it's something that I picked up on more recently, where I think it was when you told me that Rollins was a heel that I started to see his character differently.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it is just something that I thought about. So okay, we got Ronda versus Shayna bubbling up. The next match that we had, and this has got another kind of oh shit moment in it, which didn't quite hit for me in the way that I'm sure it did for you, because I'm not as big of a fan of Drew McIntyre. He's been gone the majority of the time that I've been watching. But Gunther versus Riddle for the Intercontinental title. And what'd you think about the match?
I love these two, but this was another one that I'm like, this is mostly forgettable for me.
Yeah, it was
like, I mean, they're both great. I
interesting.
love Riddle, I love Gunther, but nothing here like really knocked my socks off for nothing.
Is Riddle really injured?
No, I'm sure he's fine.
Okay.
He was just on
that
Monday
was
Night
a
Raw, so
work.
he's good.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
he's
whole
just on
foot
Raw, so
thing
he's
I
good.
was wondering about, and I was like, maybe that's why
That
wasn't
was, I
all
will
that
say,
exciting.
I liked the finish. That was a good, I enjoyed that. Like, you know, I like exploiting injuries and the storytelling of that. So the fact that he's just like, I'm just going to chop your foot and I'm going to submit you with that.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that.
So out of nowhere, Drew McIntyre's music comes on. He runs into the fucking ring and does a Claymore finisher. And I guess this is probably setting up a feud. People like Drew McIntyre.
People love Drew, especially in the UK. That was a great pop for them. I would like to see the feud. I don't want Drew to win it.
Really?
I want Gunther to just keep rolling on as the IC champ. He is right now, I think, the third longest IC champ in all time. I think the only two people ahead of him are the Honky Tonk Man and Macho Man Randy Savage.
And you want to see him take those titles? I'd like
to see him take the second or the first place. I'd like to see him up there.
I like Gunther. I'm more interested in his like the Imperium faction. I think they're hilarious, and I love all of their entrances. And to me, that was the highlight of the match. I don't know when that's going to change, but I like Drew McIntyre. From what I've seen of him, like you said, it was the UK, so it was a big pop. I mentioned it incorrectly when we were talking about AEW, but man, the fucking crowd made this show what it was to me. It was some of my favorite moments. They had all of these chants that I'd never heard of before. And it was just a trip. I should have written some of them down. Do you remember any of like the highlight UK chants that you just don't get here?
Honestly, there's a good handful I couldn't even understand.
Yeah.
But I know I can't think of any of the ones they did for this. But I've always enjoyed the UK chants. I've watched a good amount of UK wrestling. We talked earlier about like they'll take a lot of like existing like tunes and beats and make the theme out
Yes.
of that,
Uh-huh.
which I guess is some of the thing they do in like in soccer, football.
Um,
But they did like one of my favorites. I remember watching a lot of indie wrestling. Is there's a wrestler like we talked about in the last one was Zack Sabre Jr. or even Keith Lee basking his glory. They'll take like their name or their like sort of catchphrase, and they'll take I guess it's Seven Nation Army or something. But for like Zack Sabre Jr., it'll be like, oh, Zack Sabre Jr.
yeah, yeah.
Like shit like that. Then I'm like, that's a lot of fun. Why don't we do that over here?
You get You're a Wanker. Obviously there's
That's
that
a good one.
one. There were just so many funny ones. Tons of profanity in it, which kind of comes up during John Cena's little spot. I guess we can talk about that right now. What'd you think about Cena showing up to like maybe announce WrestleMania? What the fuck happened there?
He was just coming out there to hype up the crowd and see if they can get WrestleMania over in the UK. And that crowd, I loved. What was it? He came out and John Cena has almost become like a Kurt Angle figure, where Kurt Angle's theme music was like that Olympic music and bum 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 bum. So people during those beats would go, "You suck, you suck," and so like when Kurt Angle was a heel, they would be saying "you suck" to him, but when he was a face, it would be "you sucked" his opponent. And they've done a similar thing over in the UK with his theme, bum bum bum, and so they'd say John Cena sucks,
Okay.
but it's become like a point where it's like it's almost like endearing, like they're doing it because it's like, hey, we just used to do this, but we love you now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And his whole thing was like, I feel like it's something we talked about a couple weeks ago, that I guess kind of made news in the wrestling community, that certain shows the audience was kind of going off script and doing what
Mhm.
they wanted to instead of what the show wanted them to. And John Cena was there to be like, but we love you guys because you make the show, and the show isn't a show without you. So it was almost like to me, like a endorsement of the audience going off script. And then the WrestleMania thing, like, isn't WrestleMania already booked for like Pittsburgh or some shit?
It is, but he's just saying like in the future at some point.
I thought he was saying next WrestleMania. That's why I was so
No, they book
confused.
that stuff like a whole year ahead. They'll announce it like during WrestleMania. They'll be like, next year WrestleMania is here. It's like that stuff's booked like a whole year ahead.
We're not in PG era wrestling. So like, do you think that the way that the UK chants will affect their possibility to have a WrestleMania there?
I mean, maybe
Because you can't really.
that would be a bummer, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Did you watch the press conferences afterwards?
I caught a little bit of it. I didn't watch too much of it.
It comes up, Cody Rhodes was kind of saying like, if you guys want to do WrestleMania here, you might need to think about the chants that you're doing. And like, to me, this is a PLE, dude. This is a fucking donkey show. I want to see penetration. You know what I'm saying?
It's when we like you said, we talked about what they even called this show was obnoxious crowds. I much prefer an obnoxious British or Canadian crowd to an obnoxious American crowd,
Why?
because it's like a fucking it's a unison, it's a community, it's everybody is like, and you hear it in their chants, you hear all the shit they do and say. They are so good at finding a chant and getting an entire crowd to run with it,
Yeah.
as opposed to WWE, where it's a lot of it's just, I don't know, something about it, or not WWE, but America. I don't know what's up with our crowds. I don't know what's up with our sense of community as a crowd. We fucking suck. And I've been saying that for years. I've been watching all the British wrestling. Every time they go to Canada, those crowds are amazing. I don't know what it is. It's their energy. It's the atmosphere. Maybe it's just that they don't get shows 24/7. So
It's
whenever
gotta
it's
be.
there, they take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But like American crowds, we are the fucking drizzling shits.
Oh man, that's I can dig it. I think it's what you said, that it's the scarcity of going to these places where people are just like, they're pent up. They've been wanting to do this for years. They finally get a chance to let loose, and boy did they on Roman Reigns, which led to one of the greatest moments of the night in my approximation. But next, after the Gunther and Riddle Intercontinental with the reemergence of Drew McIntyre, we had Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio. What do you think?
Yeah, this is another one that I was like, okay, this exists.
Why? I mean, like, I don't understand what they were trying to accomplish with this match. It was just a singles match. There was nothing on the line, which thank God. I guess it was to, I don't know what. It was like Dom running from Cody the whole time, which was kind of funny. That was like a kind of funny angle, but it just, there were no stakes. There was never a question whether Cody was going to win or lose this match. And I've kind of been saying it for a couple of weeks now. I like Cody Rhodes less and less every fucking match, dude.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little stale on him. Not too much. I do wish he would do something more, I guess, but I don't know. I like Dom. I like Rhea. I like the Judgment Day. But yeah, this whole feud and match was, it's all just a bit of a wet fart for me.
Why? Okay, if from a writer perspective, what does this do?
It keeps Cody busy, maybe, which I guess until this week or on Monday Night Raw, where Brock Lesnar came back. I don't know. Maybe gave him something to do, put him in front of an audience.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I could see that. I could see that. I didn't even mention the briefcase went to Damian Priest at the during the first match, the ladder match,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I feel like
Bum me
you
out.
said that. Oh, it bummed you out. Who did you want to see win?
I mean, look, I'm with the crowd. I was 100% behind LA Knight. That crowd was on fire for LA Knight.
Yeah.
And like, and so, oh my, so this was even before, this was on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown last week before Money in the Bank. But when Logan Paul calls out LA Knight and is like, weren't you like supposed to be a manager in WWE? Like, you know, you keep saying you're a superstar, you have this mega fan base. I don't even know who you're talking about. And then LA Knight just says, crowd, tell this man who I am. And the whole crowd goes, LA Knight. Yeah. Fuck yes.
I did not
That
see that.
crowd,
That's amazing.
yeah, and that, you know, that crowd let Logan Paul know we're the fucking people who love this man.
Yeah.
And that came back on Money in the Bank. And that whole crowd, when he was up there, he was the solo person on top of that ladder, and that crowd was on fire. And then when Damian Priest chokeslammed him off or whatever, or I think he did like a Falcon Arrow off, the crowd immediately was like, God damn it.
You can't send them home happy every show. I think was it Triple H that said that? I guess that's
I
probably
mean, I know
just
you
been
can't
a
send him home
thing.
happy, but God damn, that would have been. And I think what he could do with that briefcase, I think he'd have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I personally felt like he was that Priest is like the third or fourth most interesting choice. I think that LA Knight probably should have won it. I think that Logan Paul could have done some really interesting shit with the briefcase, and it would feel even more because he's not always there. So him showing up at like random times with the briefcase could be like compelling. I don't care about Judgment Day that much, man. I really don't.
I like them. I hate that they look like they're splitting them up. At least they're kicking Finn Balor out. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
And
this
I,
could
you
be
know, I
interesting.
like Priest. I'm a fan of Priest. I saw him back in Ring of Honor when he was Punishment Martinez. But I don't know. He's a good choice. He's definitely a main event top guy, world level guy. But you know, LA Knight would have been great.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And I do like Rhea Ripley. So it's not like the Judgment Day is a wash for me, but like I from the little bit I know, like doesn't it seem kind of like on script or on brand for them to like be constantly trying to replace the person at the top? Like, didn't they do that shit with Edge? So like
They
maybe
did.
there's an
They did.
internal struggle kind of shit going on.
Yeah, but I've also just been having fun with Finn Balor in the Judgment Day. I've been
Yeah.
enjoying his little Saints Row gangster looks he's been doing.
Yeah. He's him and Rhea are obviously my favorite parts about it. So then next we got the women's ladder match. This was like Becky and Trish and Zelina and
Zelina
Io
Vega, Zoe
Sky,
Stark,
Zoe Stark, and Bailey.
Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good match. There was a couple of fucking cool spots in this. I really like watching Zelina wrestle. She seems like she's having a good time.
Yeah, when she looked like she was taking out that chocolate, she was having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Trish taking that Becky's finisher on the ladder when Trish
Yes.
isn't old, but Trish is like 40. It's like,
She's
Trish,
much
calm
older than
down.
that. She's 47.
Yeah. Which I know she's like in great shape. She's like, she got into WWE because she's like a fitness model and she's remained into heavy fitness, but you're still, I don't, I stretch every day, but sometimes something will happen and I'm like, ow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 26. I'm 26. I'm about to turn 27.
That's why 40 feels so old to you. She's only 7 years older than me, so whatever. I'm not out there fucking
I didn't know how
wrestling.
old she was. No.
I looked it up. Imagine that. Could I smash Trish Stratus? Oh, turns out I can. Was Becky Lynch dressed like the Phoenix?
I think so. Yeah.
That was kind of what I was picking up on. And I love Becky's intensity. She's a fucking
Yeah, Becky's
brawler,
great.
dude. She's really fun to watch. The fact that Zelina, or the fact that Trish and Zoe
Zoe.
immediately went after her makes a lot of sense with the rivalry and stuff. There were some cool spots in this, like when Becky took the handcuffs and put them in Bailey's mouth like a fish hook and drug her down the ladder. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I love the finish. So one thing. So Io got her good moonsault in. Io's got a beautiful moonsault. One thing that this whole night of ladder matches showed me, and it annoyed me a little bit. Why can't they just let people get to the top of the ladder? Everybody, and maybe it's that they're trying to protect people, and I understand that, I guess. But like all the big falls, all the big slams were like they were never like ever near the top of the ladder. I'm
Yeah.
like, why are y'all just trying to protect them now these days, or can we let some people get to the top of the ladder? What's happening?
Would you say that's like they're literally bringing the steps down, like people used to go off the top and now they don't as much anymore?
Yeah, like every big jump or every big fall, they were only ever at like the middle of the ladder, and it happened in the men's match too.
Zelina did a really cool spot where she slammed Zoe onto the ladder from towards the top of the ladder inside the ring. That was
That was
cool.
a pretty good one.
Yeah.
The sunset flip power bomb, which that's a common spot every WWE ladder match. You'll probably see that.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it looked really good. Io starts. Yeah, it did. Io starts to make it to the top of the ladder. Bailey down on the mat, fucking kicks the ladder out from under her.
Yeah, which is sort of a betrayal of I always forget what their freaking stable's called because they just lose every match.
Damage control,
yeah. And so and like they try to make the thing of like, oh, she was just in the moment, she didn't see who was up there. And then when her and Becky are brawling, Io's just like, screw it, you're both handcuffed together.
Yeah, that was another cool thing. They're on either side of the ladder. She handcuffs their hands in between so that they can't get up the rest of the way. Io ends up taking the victory at the press conference afterwards. I don't know if you saw this moment, but they were both like, no, we're all good. Everything's fine. No rift here. Did that play out on Raw or are they SmackDown?
I don't think I saw any. They might be. No, I think they're Raw. I can't remember. I don't think I got to their part on Raw if they're on Raw, but I did laugh a lot during the press conference. I saw that clip because Becky, Io is like, this is our briefcase. This is ours together. And then she goes for like a high five and Bailey puts her hand up for the high five and she still has the handcuffed on.
Yeah. That was a good shit.
and Io sees it and Io goes, oh.
First, we got to talk about the world heavyweight bout between Rollins and Balor. We'd watched some of the lead up to this one. We learned the history because we watched the first Money in the Bank, as Tristan had alluded to earlier. So this was a match a long time coming. And
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I thought it was all right. Another most interesting part of this was story related, but what did you think about the
Mm.
match?
Yeah, it didn't quite live up to that first one at SummerSlam 2016.
No.
Did not live up to
No.
that. I admit, yeah, it was just kind of fine. It was a good back and forth, solid wrestling match until the end. I didn't really have anything of note that happened on it almost at all.
Yeah, I didn't either. And like you said, it didn't live up to the previous one, but back to Indiana Jones again. Of course, the new one's not as good as the three of the greatest action movies of all time. Like you don't expect it to necessarily be one of the best, but it wasn't the best fight of the night. It wasn't
No.
exceptional in any real way, other than I liked all of the showboating that Seth was doing, and you could just see that Balor's just fucking not having any of it. And I like that he's not in the demon makeup. This is
He's
like
just being
no
intense.
gimmicks, intense fucking Finn Balor. And I liked a lot of that stuff. Towards the end of the match, Damian Priest comes rolling out with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they're like, "Is he gonna cash it in? Is he gonna cash it in?" And he just kind of like hangs out on the sidelines, decides not to do anything. What do you think his intentions were coming out there?
I think he was just there to play mind games, just there to get in the heads of one of them, which maybe he meant to get in the head of Finn, maybe he didn't, but he did. Cost Finn the match.
Do you think that he was there to get in the head of Finn?
I think they've not been super copacetic the past few weeks. Maybe they got some kind of beef going on.
Um, I heard that Damian Priest has just been taking L's in like during the shows for a while now.
He's been taking L's, but he's been competitive.
Mm.
Like he's been, like there's a difference, I guess, between taking an L and putting up a dope fight.
Yeah, oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe because they've got such a clear path forward with Dom. I mean, I guess they do. He seems to be very popular as a heel. Rhea's holding a title. Finn Balor, I don't really know what his thing is right this particular moment, but I feel like they gave Damian the Money in the Bank briefcase just like so that he has a clear purpose. I think because Judgment Day is pretty liked by fans. Do you think that's fair?
I think that has to do with it, and I think they want to push Damian as a main event guy. They want to put him in that top level, and so trying to get him up there, get that mascara off your face.
I don't know what it was, dude. It
I don't
looked
know.
a lot like
I saw it
mascara.
earlier, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but it's there.
Oh, thanks, dude. Good looking up.
But yeah, I think they want to push him as a top guy. They want to put him in the main event, and I think they maybe need some more people in the main event.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Finn Balor, man. I like Finn Balor. He made a believer out of me as far as him as a wrestler. I like Seth Rollins a lot. I think both of them are very talented and had high expectations for this match that were unfortunately not met. And I don't think I ever noticed before, but god damn, Seth Rollins' platforms are like 4 inches.
Are they? I've not noticed.
He has got to be 4'5", dude. 4'5" with 20-inch heels. Now, I don't know how tall he is in real life, but his heels are like that thick. So I think it's a way to,
I've seen him come out
size.
in heels. I've seen him come out in heels, like not in his wrestling gear, but I haven't noticed his boots.
Yeah, they're thick, man. But then again, you're out there with huge people, so I guess you want to have a little bit of stature. He was on a episode of Lad Bible trying UK and did you see that? That was pretty good. I saw Triple H do it as well.
And I think Triple H is just sometimes just does stuff. He's like, I have to do this.
Yeah, done with. Yeah, for sure.
And Triple H has led such a healthy life for such a long time that he would like take one bite of something and go,
yeah. No. He's like, I didn't even get to what the thing is. I just took a little bite of the crust and it sucks. I think he was unanimously American Snacks. And to be fair, all of that UK shit is trash. So I don't not get it. And I look, UK people, you're wonderful, love your culture. Your food sucks. I don't know why your palates are so
The
whatever.
the long-standing joke is that the British spent centuries going over to different countries and stealing all their spices and didn't learn how to use any of them.
Nah, I've never heard that, but goddamn, that's accurate. All right. Okay. Final match is the Bloodline Civil War. We got the Usos versus Solo and Roman in a Bloodline feud that's been a long time coming ever since the clear lines were drawn. They're doing a tag team match, and I don't know, man. Another one that I'm just like, storyline, great. Match, do they never do big spots? Like, I mean, we watched that cage match with the Usos in it, and there was definitely some interesting stuff in there, but I don't feel like I ever see big spots from any of these guys.
I think when you have a story like that and you're going against people like Solo and Roman, I guess it's just not fully necessary. I guess they just wanted to tell the story in the ring, which is fine. I've seen some amazing matches that never leave the ring that are fantastic. But I don't know. They can definitely do high spots. They do high spots quite often, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the Usos coming up they're one of their finishers is like I don't know, man. Maybe I just haven't seen a whole lot of Roman matches. And I guess it's like every, what do they say? What did I keep hearing them say in the UK? Something like it's cinema. They keep calling wrestling cinema. Does that sound right?
I haven't heard this.
Okay. Yeah, even Triple H said something about it during the press conference afterwards. He's like, what do y'all call it? Cinema. And so I guess the idea is when the stakes are this high in the storyline, like you said, you tell the story in the ring. It actually does push their story forward. It's not just another match. And I liked all of that stuff. I will say, with when you're watching these kind of events with a group of friends and they're a little bit checked out because it's been going on a long time and they've just kind of found their way into their phones or whatever, it does kind of take the energy down a little bit. But luckily
Yeah.
the crowd was there to fucking pick it back up with their fuck you Roman chants and
Mhm.
their well, is it like if you hate Roman Reigns, stand up or something like
Yeah.
that?
Stand up if you hate Roman Reigns, something like that. Yeah.
So good, so good. And Roman Reigns, some of the fucking coolest improv that I've seen is him just like talking to Heyman
Paul
and
Heyman.
being like, these people suck, these people are idiots. And while they're doing the chant about if you hate Roman, stand up, he sits down on the fucking side of the ring. It was just like, it
He
was
said, "This is the
funny,
dumbest
man.
country I've ever been in."
Yeah, it gave me like I like Reigns even more after this match because he rolled with it with the
Mhm.
heel shtick and seemed to be having a really good time with it. So
And that is like he's doing such a good job. And if I look back at 2015 Roman, his growth is it's insane because 2015 Roman could have never done any of this shit. 2015 Roman was had no personality, couldn't talk on the mic. I think when he went away with his leukemia diagnosis, I think he took that time and like was like training on the mic and working on all that shit too.
I just saw the unreality of wrestling. It was a 1 hour Roman Reigns
Yes,
documentary
yes,
on
yes. From
YouTube.
Super Eye Patch Wolf. Yes.
Fucking fantastic.
Yeah, that's a great one. He's done like 4 wrestling videos and they're all amazing.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I
he
need to
covers a
check
whole
him
bunch of
out.
random stuff from anime to how the internet destroyed Sonic the Hedgehog or some random thing on video games. He did one on fake martial arts that's great. And yeah, he's done like 4 wrestling videos and they're all amazing.
I will check those out because I really appreciated that. It was another instance where I'm just like, man, I like Roman Reigns even more now. Like you said, I guess, there was the whole Shield thing, and this is a stupid summary for any of the y'all that are curious. Definitely watch the documentary, but when the audience just would not buy him as a face, they thought that he was a corporate product that was getting shoved down the throat. He sucked on the mic. He was always flubbing his lines and just seemed insecure. They didn't really know what to do with him. And then he came back as the head of the table, the heel version of Roman Reigns, and he kind of leaned into all of the things that that the audience had put on him after all that long. So the acknowledge me chant isn't like, or the acknowledge me expression isn't something necessarily that he's saying to his family, but something that he's fucking saying to the entire audience. And I just thought that was super cool.
Yeah, it's a great evolution that happened both on camera and behind the scenes.
So what is Roman if not the ultimate heel?
I mean, I think he is the ultimate heel. I think he is, but
Forever?
like, I mean, for the moment, I think he's already up there in age for their idea of, you know, a main event guy. And I don't think he's sticking around too long. I think he may try to, you know, go the Rock route and John Cena route and get into Hollywood at some point. But well, I guess we'll see about that.
Yeah, that's what they say. And I'm just like, well, Seth Rollins is doing both. Like, if Hollywood's knocking, answer the fucking door.
Coming out. Drew McIntyre is going to be. Oh, I'm so fucking excited for this. Did you watch Day Shift?
No, but I'm familiar.
The dude who directed Day Shift is named J.J. Perry. He is a legendary stuntman, martial artist. He's made some dope martial arts fight scenes and stuff. He helped out with choreographing like the second John Wick movie.
Does Day Shift have that kind of stuff in it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And they even put Scott Adkins in it, which made me so fucking happy. So yeah, I remember I showed you Scott Adkins fight scenes and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's in Day Shift for a bit. So JJ Perry is directing a new movie coming out, and it stars a whole bunch of people, but it also has Scott Adkins. It has Marco Zador, who was the big Latino dude in John Wick 4.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it also has Drew McIntyre in it.
That's
and
cool.
Dave Bautista.
Really?
Dave Bautista is like probably the lead star of it. Yeah.
I'll check that out. Now I want to go back and watch Day Shift. We're talking about the vampire one with Jamie Foxx in it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. That's the biggest endorsement that I've I love vampires. I wasn't very interested even with that, but now that I know that it's like a martial arts.
So it's not that it's even like, it's got martial arts in it, but the thing with that one is, and it's a trend I'm loving seeing in Hollywood these days, is certain areas of Hollywood are being overtaken by stuntmen. You got to look at David Leitch and Chad Stahelski, two dudes who came up doing Hong Kong movies and low budget martial arts films.
They and then went on movies. To do,
they did Deadpool 2. They did Hobbs and Shaw, Atomic Blonde. Sam Hargrave, great stuntman, great martial artist. He has a fantastic movie called Unlucky Stars I have behind me over here. He was Captain America's stunt double. He directed both the Extraction movies with Chris Hemsworth. They're great. They have great action scenes in them. And so him being a stuntman too, he's coming up doing Day Shift. He's got another movie coming out now, like I just said. And when you have those stunt guys directing these movies, is they just have so much care for the action. They want it to look good. They don't want it to be all cut up, because they've been the stunt guys who do a crazy stunt that gets cut out of the movie or gets chopped up into 5 different angles. So they want to make sure that these stunts, these fight scenes, these action sequences that they spent time crafting are highlighted. And he's one of those guys too. He's up there with your Chad Stahelski doing John Wick, with your Sam Hargrave doing Extraction. He's doing good stuff.
All right, I'll keep an eye out for him. That's interesting. And to see somebody like Drew McIntyre end up in movies, I don't know what his schedule was like. Maybe he was gone on hiatus from
That's
WWE,
what I'm wondering. I'm like,
so he could do that.
Yeah, I'm wondering, was he injured and gone for that? Or is he only coming back for a short time and then he's going to disappear again and do more of that stuff? Because I don't know. The only way I know that is JJ Perry released a picture of like a cork board with different with people's pictures, and he was on the lineup. So I'm like, have you been gone doing that, or are you going to be gone soon doing that? Like, what's happening?
Was Rollins still doing shows during the production of New World Order?
Rollins like never disappeared. I don't know. He must have just snuck it in like a week or something. I don't know.
Yeah. What people have speculated for a long time is that I
can't really hear what you said.
If what people are expecting is that Roman Reigns is going to go off to Hollywood, that seems to be the general consensus. My question to them is like, why do you have to go away? Like, if you're getting phone calls from agents and getting phone calls from casting and all of this kind of stuff, can't you do both, especially considering Roman's gone for like fucking weeks at a time, you know?
Well, I mean, if you become a big enough star, then it's an insurance problem, I guess. Because that's the thing with The Rock is like, and I guess John Cena now too, is people want The Rock to come back and do a match with Roman Reigns or do a match over here or something. But how much is The Rock doing movies? That's just all insurance now. Like the insurance companies who are making these movies are like, we can't afford, for this guy to get hurt, or we can't afford the time that we'll lose if this guy gets hurt.
Interesting. Never even thought about that side of it. That makes sense. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. All in all, I thought it was a good Money in the Bank. There were definitely highlights to me.
What did you think of the finish to that bloodline?
Oh, match? Yeah. I'm glad you asked. I thought that I'm happy to see Jay coming out as the what I would say the most significant part of this feud between Roman and the twins or the brothers. Right. There was a bit of teeter-tottering as whether people thought it was Jimmy's story or Jay's story. I kind of feel like Jay is the clear.
Jay is the one who was initially like manipulated and shit,
Yes. Yeah. And maybe it's only slightly, but I feel like he's the more charismatic of the two. I feel like he's got more like main event energy than maybe Jimmy does. I don't know if they'll ever not be a tag team. Like, can he solo as a main event, or do you keep them paired up? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't know. That's the one's hard because it's a similar thing with like the New Day where Big E held the the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston held the WWE Championship, but they always remained the New Day. They never broke up or nothing. So maybe they do something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Seeing Roman lose after how long was it?
He's 3 years. He hasn't been pinned in 3 years.
Hasn't been pinned in 3 years. Finally got pinned clean. I guess Jay kind of took a cheap shot when he kicked out.
So Roman did that to him. And at the very beginning, if you go back to the very beginning of Roman taking on Jay, at one point, it looked like Jay had him and Roman kicked out. And when he kicked out, he got him right in the balls.
Oh,
so Jay doing that to Roman is a callback to 2 years ago.
Badass. I did not realize that. Yeah, that's cool, man. What else? Was there any big moments in the match that we should talk about?
There wasn't like a whole lot of major highlights. It was kind of just the storytelling of it for me. I mean, they both are getting the super kicks on Roman and Jay, getting the final big splash and pin. That's just kind of the big soul of it right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested to see where things go moving forward. And I guess that kind of ties back to the question of what is Roman Reigns, if not the ultimate heel. Now he's in a situation where he looks human, and I don't know if you just go out as that guy or if you stick around and kind of fade into the background when you've just held such a dominant position for so long.
I mean, I guess it's those titles that are going to keep him in that top spot. I know a lot of people have said Cody really should have won at WrestleMania because this story is so good it doesn't need championships. But I think those championships are probably what's going to hold Roman at that top spot. Like, the story's there, but once this story is over, whether he wins it or he loses it, he's still going to have those championships to hold him up there. So I guess he needs those for that reason.
And the story to me is that it's the top spot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's at least a very integral part of the fucking story. So yeah, I don't know.
What Jay's been saying, like Jay, because of this bloodline thing, has become main event Jey Uso. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it was really good. I did like the finale to it. There were a couple really good matches throughout it. I watched the press conference for the first time ever, and Cody Rhodes came out and talked for a little bit, and I listened to him, and I'm like, this fucking guy, dude. This fucking guy.
He did some good stuff on Raw, which was mostly just beating the shit out of Brock Lesnar. He came out to cut a promo on Seth, say, I want your title, and then Brock wouldn't let him talk. Brock immediately came out and Cody just didn't even hesitate. Cody dropped the microphone and charged Brock Lesnar, and they just beat the shit out of each other.
Were they on the ramp or were they in the ring?
Yeah, like it went from the ramp to in the ring, and yeah, it was good.
I will definitely watch that. I'll definitely watch that. And I'm interested in a Cody versus Brock rivalry. The Dom thing just is like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there was not a lot there.
And
He
then
almost has more chemistry with Rhea.
yeah.
Cody does.
What did you think about Liv and Raquel being the women's tag team champions?
I think there's a problem. The problem with WWE's women division is honestly they should probably just get rid of those women's tag titles. There's no women's tag teams. There's one. There's Caden Carter and like Katana Chance or whatever she's going by now. They're like an actual tag team. They're a group. Ronda and Baszler were an actual tag team, an actual group. Whereas like they just had like a women's a tag team, whatever they call it. It's essentially just a gauntlet match with tag teams, but it was all women's tag teams. And almost every single team in there was just two women who were thrown together.
That's the vibe that I got.
Yeah, it was like Caden Carter and Katana Chance are an actual tag team, and then Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae are well, they might not be an actual like tag team. They at least have a relationship. Whereas every other group there was just two women thrown together, including Raquel and Liv. They too are just a group that has been they're two people that are just smashed together and they have to make it work.
That's exactly what I thought. Like there's almost zero compatibility. They don't seem to really gel on any personal level, especially what I saw in the press conference afterwards. I mean, they're trying to be nice and look cohesive, but yeah, there was Braun Strowman and who was the little guy? Was it Ricochet? That Strowman?
Ricochet, yeah.
Yeah, like the kind of we got a big person and a little person, and they're a tag team, and that's kind of the vibe that I get from Liv and Raquel. But I did hear them mention that they want to wrestle with Cardi B and Megan the Stallion. Would you be interested in that?
No.
No.
I like Meg the Stallion and Cardi B's all right.
I don't give a fuck about either of them, but that's spectacle, dude.
I think one of them is a wrestling fan, but I don't see one of them being a Logan Paul or a Bad Bunny.
No, it would probably be a complete disaster.
And I've lived through the disasters of celebrity wrestling matches. Go back to WrestleMania 29 or something and go watch Snooki wrestle.
Snooki wrestles?
Yeah, it's awful.
That's amazing to me, dude. Yes, I want to see Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez essentially try to make Megan the Stallion and Cardi B look like credible wrestlers.
I have no desire to see it whatsoever. I'm
All
good.
right.
I've lived through that. I've lived through terrible celebrity wrestling stuff, and I don't need to see it anymore.
Well, to each their own. Y'all let us know what your thoughts are down in the comments section. We've hung out for a little while. I feel like we've covered a whole lot of stuff, Tristan. I appreciate you being here, man. It's always good to talk wrestling with you.
You as well. I was supposed to go to a barber after this, but she called and canceled.
What a
well, so I also I need what it is I need to find a good ethnic, probably black barber.
Why is that?
Just because I don't have totally normal hair. I'm a bit of a mixed Puerto Rican white dude. I'm trying to get like a bit of a fade down here while still having long hair.
Mm-hmm.
And Sabrina set up the appointment, and then she just called me to cancel. She actually was trying to say to reschedule for later today. And as I'm just hearing her voice, I'm like, oh, this is an old white woman. And I was like, I'll reschedule for another day, and I'm just going to go somewhere else.
I go, this is my ranking. I go Asian woman, Asian man, gay man. It doesn't matter what race they are. So that's my ranking of barbers. If
I also just have a lot of black coworkers that are like, nah, I need to go to a black barber. And
yeah.
I'm just taking their word for it.
All right. I dig it. I haven't had that experience yet before, but when I go into any number of, I don't usually go to good barbers. I have one good barber, but it's like fucking $55 every time I get my hair cut. I'm just like, I'm not trying to spend that much money. So I'll go to like a Cuts by Us or something like that. And I just scan the place and I'm like,
yeah,
are you busy? Are you busy?
I just like totally assuming off her voice was like, I don't know if I trust this woman's voice to give me a
yeah.
tapered fade.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Y'all let us know who your least favorite race of barbers is down in the comments section. All right, until next time, and on behalf of both of us, be terrible. Peace.